Welcome to the Char Chit Chat, a podcast exploring all things biochar related, coming to you from a small sheep and tree farm in the deep south of New Zealand. Hi, Stephen Newman. Thank you for joining me today.
Hi, how are you?
Yeah, I'm good. I would like to start by asking, where are you currently residing?
So I live in Kaipara, Auckland, which is just slightly north of Auckland, just a few acres.
Cool, thank you. And where do you say you are from, and where did you grow up?
Born in Nelson, the South Island, and eventually moved to Auckland, where started my career in IT, and then about 30. I changed to farming. I bought a dairy farm, and my wife and I went dairy farming and did that for quite a number of years. And then went back to town and then back out into a little bit of land again.
Yeah. How long did you have the dairy farm for the first time?
I had that for 7 years.
Okay, cool.
I took that over after doing a correspondence course and 4 days working on dairy farm.
Okay. All right, what age bracket do you fit into?
So 62 actually.
Okay. And what keeps you busy these days?
So I've only got 23 acres, but that keeps me busy. And also running and helping out on regenerative farming groups and the Future Ready Farms project. Plus another thing I've started, Out the Farm Gate, which is farmers connecting directly with consumers.
Great. Tell us about your interest in biochar, please.
So actually, one of the things I didn't tell you I was involved in is I'm involved in a project called City to Farm, where it's collecting food scraps from town, creating compost, and then putting it back onto the land. So we're trying to, instead of going to landfill, getting that compost back onto the land. And that's where my journey has started with biochar. We have it in the compost making process.
All right, so you are the farmer in Betsy Ketzel's project, the City to Farm project. You are the farmer that is featured in the videos and stuff? Oh, great.
Yes, that's right. Yeah.
Very good. Oh, so you are an expert on biochar.
I wouldn't say that.
All right. Tell us about when it arrives to your property.
A truck turns up with about 30 wheelie bins full of raw food scraps. And inside those wheelie bins is the bokashi and the biochar. So the food scraps have been sitting around for about 3 weeks processing by itself. And then with that truck, tip those wheelie bins into a tractor bin, and I fill up 3 metre by 3 metre square, 3 metre deep bins layered with mulch, then food scraps, mulch, food scraps, etc., until I fill it all the way to the top. So we don't mix it, we have it layered. And the biochar is in that layer of the food scraps. And so that'll take half a day to fill that bin. And we'll generally have 2 truckloads, actually, not one. So the truck will come again later in the afternoon and we finish the job off, or the next day. So this season, I'll be making something like about 16 tons of compost for my property. And I've only just started spreading a lot of it onto my paddocks at the moment.
Okay. So then how long does it stay in those big square containers for?
So generally, with this project, I'm set up to make it in winter. So some of the other farmers can make it in summer, because where they've got it, the paddocks are wet. Where I've got mine, it's all metalled, so trucks can come in the middle of winter, and the tractor can be operated without making a mud. So therefore, it only sits there for about 6 to 8 months maximum before I spread it.
Okay, I see. So there are other properties also receiving these loads of wheelie bins.
Yes, that's right. Yeah. So the
Okay.
city's farm would collect about a tonne and a half of food scraps a week. So we need a few more farms than just me.
Yeah.
I've made about I've made about 6 of those bins, 3 metre by 3 metres.
Okay. And so then after 6 to 8 months, when you pull that out, is it pretty nicely composted? Is it full of worms and is it pretty much finished, or is it still got a way to go?
98% it is finished, because what happens is there's worms in it, and also what happens is that since it's food scraps, there's pumpkin seeds, tomato seeds, melons, things like that are in there, and they start growing. So it quickly tells me that it's ready when the plants start growing, shooting up. And also the worms are in there, and I also check the temperature. But what I do find sometimes, there are pockets through there, small pockets of food scraps which hasn't decomposed or broken down, because that didn't get the air into it. It's not a lot, it's hardly anything. It's very, very minute amount. And so if I wanted to fix that, I'd have to turn that compost regularly to make sure air got through everywhere. But the system I like is I don't turn it at all, and I don't need to, because of the layer of the mulch lets the air through.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and then where are you mostly applying that to?
So originally I just started with my veggie gardens and flower gardens, and now I am applying it, now that I'm doing 16 tonne, I'm applying it to certain paddocks on the farm, just trying to rejuvenate particular paddocks in the farm that need a bit of a push.
Yeah. Okay, great. And what is the
Yeah.
mulch that you use? What is it made of?
So the mulch I use is from Cypress Sawmill, which is the macrocarpa fine mulch. So it's been sitting for about 2 or 3 years before I get it. And the reason I use it's nice and fine. I don't like the big wood chips, massive wood chips. I like the fine mulch, and so that's why I use that. Other farmers use different mulch.
Yes, yes. Oh, that's really
Yeah.
interesting. Yeah, so it sounds like it's already quite nicely broken down. So yeah, that means you're going to get quite a nice compost, and you don't have to put it through any kind of sieve or anything like that. So it sounds like it's quite a hands-off and low input in terms of labor. You don't have to put a lot of labor into it.
No, that's right, and that's the thing. No turning, and when it's ready, there's no big chunks of wood or anything in there. It's it's just everything's 100% usable.
Nice. Great.
Yeah, and I also make sure before I use it. If I open it up, start digging it up, and steam's coming out, I know it's not ready. It's still breaking down. So, so I got to make sure there's no steam coming out of it before I use it.
By the sounds of it, you haven't got it covered at all if plants are germinating and sprouting up and growing.
No, it's no open air, rain, everything.
Open air. Okay, and the rain can go onto it and all that. Okay.
Yes. And in summer, I do have to irrigate it. So I have set up an irrigation system on it so it doesn't dry out, because you want the biology to be working all the time. So the last thing I want is it to dry out. So I do irrigate it.
Yeah. So would you say you've got your system dialed in now? You're pretty happy with how it's going?
Oh, yes, definitely. Yeah. And that's why I increased it. So I started with one bin, tried to figure it out, and it worked. So then I expanded it. So yeah, it's working perfectly now.
Okay, cool. I'm going to ask you the difficult question. What about contamination, like little plastic stickers left on fruit peels and things like that?
Yeah, that is. It's not a major problem, but it is a problem. One of the classics is I do get a lot of knives and forks in there. So when we're putting the food scraps in, we are all looking for plastic or cutlery and pulling that out, and when we're making it. But you don't always get everything. So again, when I'm spreading it, I'll spread around the paddock, and when I'm walking around the paddock, I'll have to pick up a few odd things that I find, spat out. So it's pretty good, but it's, I might find Well, the other day I was in the paddock. I picked up about 4 bits of rubbish. They're normally pretty good. It's just things slip in there when people are scraping their plates into a bin or whatever. Yeah.
Yeah,
So it's not too bad, but you have to walk around and keep your eye open and pick things up, because the last thing I want is my cows eating it.
that's right. Yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
Okay, it
Yeah.
sounds like Betty's done a really good job then with the education of the people that she's getting the food waste from, because that I think is the critical part, is the care taken when food scraps are getting put off plates or when food's being prepared and so on.
Yes, that's right. Yeah.
So how many years have you been involved now where you've like actually applied it
Uh,
to soil?
could be wrong. Maybe 4 years is max. 3 to 4
Oh.
years.
So tell us about the results then. This is the exciting part. What have you noticed?
When I'm doing a garden, if I was in town, I'd be getting a bag of compost, $20 or $30, and tipping it on a garden. I drive to a garden with a tractor, a bucket full of compost, and I might put 2 of those on. So it goes on really thick. So I just chuckle to myself how cheap it is to really compost my gardens. And now with the paddocks, I started the paddocks last season, I think it was. I did one paddock, and that paddock was my son's ex motocross paddock, which I brought in a whole lot of truckloads of dirt to build the jumps and berms and all those sorts of things. And
Mm.
in hindsight, I regret doing that because it just imported really poor soil. Anyway, my son's moved out of home and got his own family, blah blah blah. So I had to level that paddock. So I'm spreading clay, stones to even out the paddock because of the don't need the big jumps and everything. And I just thought to myself, oh, this is going to struggle. So I started spreading compost on it, and yeah, I'm really impressed how that paddock is growing. So I did two things. I did a cover crop, multiple species, and the compost, and now that paddock grows just as good as any other paddock. I'm blown away how quickly it's recovered.
Nice. And did you get heaps of tomatoes and pumpkins and all this food growing in that paddock?
More around the veggie gardens, not in the
Okay.
paddock. It's quite funny in the veggie gardens. Just you got a flower garden and boom, there's tomatoes or pumpkin growing or something. I get that everywhere. I don't go planting half that stuff. I don't need to. It just pops up.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Nice. Very good. All right. Tell us about some of those other things you mentioned. So tell us a little bit about the Regenerative Farming Group. Are you the founder or who are you in that group?
So I originally started Kaipara Regenerative Farming Group. So because I was trying to learn about regenerative farming, and I wanted to learn quickly. I wanted to improve my knowledge, and so I figured the best way to do it was talk to other people trying these things. And there's a lot of people who've been doing different parts of regenerative farming for years, but they just haven't had a label on it. And so I started Kaipara Regenerative Farming Group, and that just expanded. I helped run the Farming Diversity, which is Northland's group. And then Auckland Council was keen on us to create another project called Future Ready Farms, where we go around the Rodney district. We employ someone up to 2 days a week, converting conventional farmers to regenerative farming in the Rodney district. So we now have that project running, and we're trying to expand it to different councils around the countryside as well. So, and that's purely to improve the soil, to better biology, better health, better carbon drawdown and holding, and also water, the water capacity of the soil. I'll give you an example. If it rains 50 mils today, is that paddock going to take in 45 mils of that rain or 5 mils of that rain? Is the rest runoff? And so compacted soils will have huge amount of runoff, where good healthy soils will absorb that. And so we measure the infiltration rates of the farms that are coming on board and watching the improvements. So what it's trying to do is when it does have a big massive downpour, we're not having these instant floods. the soil can absorb a lot more instead of running off. Yeah.
So what would you say are some of the key ways to do that when you say you have to go to conventional farmers and convert them? What are some of the tools that you give to them?
Well, what we try and do is reduce inputs in the farm, because there's no point in going to the farmer and say, hey, you need to spend more money. So first we understand their situation, their context. So let's say it's a hill country, they can't afford to go and put cover crops in, which is spending money, tractor work, things like that. We then go down the path of using stock, sheep and beef, and teach them about using the animals to create the diversity in the pasture, because diversity creates the life in the soil, the biology. So the more variety of plants you have, the more the biology becomes active. And then all of a sudden the roots start going deeper, opening up the soil, getting the air down. And give you an example, teaspoon of soil, poor soil, I have 100 million microorganisms in it, where a good teaspoon of soil, a healthy soil, have 1 billion. So there's a huge difference. And so that's what we're trying to create. And you can do that just by using animals. And what people don't realize is this huge seed bank sitting in your soil, and we're just trying to activate it and get that diversity growing that way, so without spending money. And then there's other inputs that start to reduce as things improve as well. So we sort of talk about the soil and the life of the soil is.
Yep. So I guess it's more about the mob grazing and high density, high impact, but very fast moving.
Yes.
Animals.
Yeah, that's right. So you might have there's many things you can do. So let's say you have a bad paddock. It's just, or a section of that, half that paddock is hopeless, or a quarter of it. You can do mob grazing, get up to 100,000 kgs of live weight for 12 hours, an overnight, and just get all the dung and urine and weight, and then get them off. And that can kickstart that piece of land quickly back into action. But the other part that's really big is recovery time. You've got to get in and get out. So what happens is the grass, the plants have chewed down, and they're back into producing photosynthesis, getting the food back into the soil and the plant. But if you keep grazing it for days and days and days, it keeps waiting back into action. So it sits sort of semi-idle while you're in there for 2 weeks, 3 weeks grazing. So you want to try and get in and out. There could be a day, every day moves, or it could be every 2 days moves. It doesn't have to be 3 moves a day. It's up to the individual's context, situation. So you don't have to spend money to do this. Yeah.
Which is great. Yeah, giving them lots of options.
Yes.
All right.
Yeah.
And what is the farm gate project about?
One of the other things that happened, there's a mobile abattoir started 7 or 8 months ago, I think, I can't remember, where it's basically like home kill, but it's a specifically designed truck which is MPI approved and has a meat inspector on board. So that means you virtually do home kill on your land, and then that farmer can sell their beef direct to consumer. What we found when this truck arrived is the farmers, we were trying to focus on the regenerative farmers in part of our group and get them going to try and help them sell their animals. But a lot of them don't have any IT skills, social media skills, and don't want to. So quickly produced out the farm gate website and Facebook page to try and drive consumers directly to the farmer. And so some farmers have websites and then others don't. So that's how that has come about. And it was only meant to be for those farmers who were just trying to get this truck going, but it's just turned into something bigger than I realized, because it's actually needed. So within 6 months, I got 20,000 Facebook followers. The website's, I don't know how many farmers I got on there now, and it covers all over New Zealand. So not all farmers on that site are using a mobile abattoir, but the consumer can talk to the farmer and they are getting the farmer's animal, not something else. So they can ask questions. How's it raised? Whatever. What are you doing? What are your practices? So the consumer can find these things out.
Yeah, it's great. Yeah, I'm
Yeah,
really a fan of this. I have my own animals, so I have sheep at the moment, but I'm gonna get cattle as well.
yeah.
And it pains me to send animals away on a truck and to see that happening. And I don't think it's positive for the meat quality. I think it's actually quite negative. It's a lot of stress on the animals. So
I
I'm interested to know if your feedback already, I know it's only been 8 months or so, but is the feedback that people really notice the quality of the meat?
So yeah, definitely. We have some of the feedback we're getting is they can't believe the flavour, or they've
Mm,
had home cool in their younger days, and they're going, "Oh, I'm finally can get back to having quality meat." So it's positive comments on the flavour. And so the other thing that we're hoping to do is that a lot of people don't realise is, when you go and buy meat generally, you have no idea what breed is it. Is it a heifer? Is it a steer? Is it what is it?
mm,
And all those things can change the flavour of the meat. So what we're hoping to do is eventually educate us. You'll have people going, "Oh, you want to see my farmer? He breeds Angus Jersey crosses. The fat on the meat is just so delicious. It might not look good, but being a yellow Jersey fat, but it just tastes fantastic compared to something else." So eventually we want people to understand all these things have an effect on the flavor of the meat, and then we want them to learn that. So instead of just going to the supermarket and getting a slab of meat, have no idea what it is, they then start becoming possibly connoisseurs or whatever.
yeah.
So I'm trying to arrange a lot of farmers up north to come down and have a barbecue and bring all their flavors, they bring all their variety of breeds, all the same meat cuts, and we cook them all up and sample them all and talk about what they were fed with and all that. And so we can start teaching ourselves that as well.
Yeah. Oh, that's great.
Mm.
And tell us about the advantages for the farmer for this kind of mobile abattoir. I mean, do they make more money per animal that they sell or not necessarily?
So, what that's the other thing. One of the other reasons we sort of started it as well, I tried to promote it to get it going, was a lot of farms, 100 acres or 200 acres even, it's still classed as a lifestyle block up north, and you have to go get an off-farm job to survive. So what I'm hoping is that this will also reduce that off-farm work, and they can stay on the farm and do a better job. Start doing the more regenerative practice and things like that. So it helps the community. They have more time with their family. They have more time to help out in the community. They only have to work maybe 1 day or 2 days off the farm, not 5 days or whatever it could be. So I'm hoping this extra income will help them back to purely farming. Yeah.
Are you able to put some numbers to that? So if someone like a farmer was selling, say, an 18-month-old steer, how much more would he get if he had it done by the mobile abattoir than if you sent it away to the works?
They are getting more. We're in early stages, so we're having more costs than you would once until you get established. So it's pretty hard to say because it's varying.
Okay.
Yeah.
And I mean, are the consumers having to pay more for the meat than they would in a supermarket, or are you trying to match the same prices?
As time goes by, the costs will come down, but at the moment they are quite high. So on average, if if you went and ordered half a beast, you would be paying. This is approximate because as many things can vary. About $27 a kg for the meat. So that is your mince, right up to eye fillet. So you're getting premium quality meat that's it's been hung for 10 days or more. It's really set and it's a nice flavor. So for $27 a kg, all the way up to eye fillet, which I think can be $60 or $70 a kg. So mince can vary from I think $19 or $20 to $30 or $32 a kg. So it's in the mid to top end of mince, but it's in the nowhere land and the compared to eye fillet and scotch and all that sort of stuff. Yeah.
Hmm. So that $27 is for it being done at the mobile one or at the conventional abattoir?
That's being done at the mobile abattoir. So that's including paying the farmer for the beef and paying the butcher for the processing.
Yeah, and the inspector.
And the consumer fills out a cut sheet, and you request what you want. Do you want your eye fillet in whole or in steaks? How many in per pack? And put it into sausages and things like that. Sorry, how we're doing that on the website is that a lot of people don't know what a cut sheet is. So we're nearly ready to release where you click on the animal, the picture of the animal and all the cuts that come up. And then when you click on the cut, it shows you an image of it. It tells you about that piece of meat and where it's from. And then there's also recipe suggestions for it as well. So it's a real experience it's not just a tick a box.
Yeah, it's a whole education thing. Yeah.
Yes, yeah.
You mentioned the high costs initially. What are those high costs in the first year that you think will go away over time?
So the mobile abattoir is a huge amount of investment to get this on the road. So it's not just build a truck and you're done. There's all this development and trial and changing. So the first few mobile abattoirs, they'll have to recoup their investment. So the slaughtering fees are up there. But as time goes by, you'll start cookie cutting the trucks, and the costs to set it up and to run it will be a lot more efficient. So instead of having a driver, the slaughter, and the meat inspector, that all becomes one person. That changes.
Yeah.
Things like
Do you think MPI will allow the butcher and the inspector to be the same person?
Yes, they're happy with that. Yep, as long as they've done a meat inspector course. So you've got to do all the courses and pass.
Yeah.
I better say I'm no expert in that part, so I'm not 100% accurate on everything on the mobile abattoir. So I'm just better cover myself.
Fair enough. No, that's fine. Yeah. And do you know if the people who have developed this abattoir, do you know if they are going to be making more and selling them to other parts of the country?
Yes, definitely. Yes, they're just coming to that stage now. So they've gone through all the development changes and working. So they're now ready to start building and selling trucks to the rest of the country. Yes.
Yeah. Oh, it's so needed. It's great. Big fan of that. Yeah, we need to be in touch with our food if we want to know what's in it. We just cannot trust the current industrial food system. I don't have any trust or faith in it at all.
Yeah,
that's great.
Yeah. And then every farmer then realise that they have to sell their story. Then they finally get rewarded for doing what they think is right. Instead of just, it doesn't matter what you do, everyone gets the same.
Yeah, and the other important thing in terms of having a cycling of nutrients, when the animals are killed on the property, we have had home-killed animals for our own consumption. Some of their blood and the offal and their skin and the wool and their feet and all of that goes back to the land. Whereas when you send it away on a truck, you lose all that nutrient and you don't know what ends up happening to it. And in most cases, it's probably actually a problem for the meat works. It might even be a pollution somewhere. Whereas I can deal with that. I can make compost. I can bury a shallow grave and let the animals decompose back to the soil naturally. And I really like that. And I think farming in New Zealand needs that again.
Yeah.
All right. It's great to go out on these tangents. Let's bring it back to biochar. Are you making your own biochar?
No, don't. Not getting into that yet. I've only got so much time in a day. So what I'm liking about the biochar is, biochar, if I just throw it out there, it's not charged. It's sort of empty, I suppose you could say. And so in the compost, it's getting charged and put out. It's on the soil. And so, it's all great, blah, blah, blah. But the next phase I'm doing is I breed and release dung beetles and give them away to people. And so what next phase is feeding biochar to the animals, the cows. You imagine the biochar is eaten, it then has been charged inside the ruminant, and then it comes out, and then the dung beetles are digging a hole, taking it down and digging it into the soil, 200-300 millimeters deep. and creating these nests with biochar and dung. And so that's the next phase I'm wanting to get into with the biochar. So at that stage, I'll either looking at buying the biochar or making it. So yeah, so that's the next phase of my biochar journey.
Yeah, great. All right, please tell me more about dung beetles. This is actually what I've been hanging out the most for, about, talking to you. Tell us about how you got into it and what do you have to do, and yeah.
So you don't really have to breed dung beetles yourself, because if you just release them, there's about 7 or 8 different breeds in New Zealand at the moment, and they will have on average about 7 or 8 eggs, nests underground per season. So what they do is they get really active and grab all the dung and take it down and build nests for their egg and leave that egg there to hatch the next season. And then you'll get 7 or 8 new dung beetles every season. So if you release them, it'll take about 4 years before you start to see them. You release them and go, well, that was a waste of time. I don't see a thing the next season or the next season. So it'll take about 4 years to see it. And then all of a sudden, your dung is starting to got big holes in it where they're taking it down. So, and also hopefully your biology is working properly, and that's eating your dung, and then the dung beetles are eating the dung, and it's clearing. So, and the cool part is that when the cows come back after having that rest period, that whole paddock is palatable to the animals, the sheep or the cows. So instead of having those nitrogen dung patches left, you've got the whole paddock that's palatable. So you're growing more grass that is palatable for the cows, and so you get the biology and the dung beetles working. It's very positive. And what I like is that bearing it, not just on the surface, it's taken down into the ground. So yeah, so I breed dung beetles to just give away to farmers. I don't breed enough, but there's a certain breed I've got, which is about as big as your thumbnail, versus the smaller ones. The Mexicans are small, which is most common out there. So I breed those, and next year I've got a couple of farmers lined up to share them with, and they start their process. That's the only reason I breed them. You don't have to breed them. You just release them, and they'll do their own thing. And the other thing you've got to be careful of is drenches. Drenches kill the dung beetles. So you've got to make sure the drench you use is dung beetle friendly.
Okay, so there is a drench that isn't going to kill them.
Yeah, there is a list. There's a dung beetle list, and I've forgotten the name of the drench. The reason I don't remember is I don't drench, because of my regenerative practices. They don't need to be drenched. So, right. And if you do drench, you're selective drenching. You're not just drenching the whole herd. You're going, well, this one clearly needs something, but the rest don't. So if you do selective drenching, that's still fine.
How do you breed dung beetles? Do you have them in some containers or what?
So I have a IBC bin, the 1,000-litre IBC bins, and you cut the tops off, drill some holes in the bottom of the bin, so if it does get water, it drains out. We have it inside in the shed, so it's not just getting drenched. And I mix 50% wash sand and 50% clay, and make sure it's brown clay that dries out in the summer and you can break it down, not a grey clay which is sluggy, and you've got to be able to break it apart. And then you combine all that, mix it all together and put it in the bin. And then you get the dung beetles, and you've got to have a male and female. So you get a male and female breeding pair. So I put 50 breeding pairs in the bin, and then put 9 dung piles in that bin. And at the moment they're active. Well, they're actually getting into the breeding stage and will be hibernating soon. So every 4 days, 5 days, I'm adding new dung there, and if there's any dung left, I'll take that out and put fresh dung in every 4 to 5 days. And then eventually they will hibernate, and they've done all their nesting, and so then they won't come out again until about November and start being active again. And I start, you're always feeding, but you just don't have to feed as much when they're hibernating. And then when they come active again, you start feeding them again. and then about November you trap them, and then you put them into a little bin for a couple of months. And how you trap them is that you stop putting dung everywhere in the bin in piles. You have one in an ice cream container, and they all climb into the ice cream container, and every day you empty out the ice cream container full of 30 or 40 dung beetles, put them into the smaller bin, and then they sit there for a couple of months, and then all of a sudden they spring into action, and then you tip them all out onto a mat and start sexing them, grab your next year's breeding pair, the rest on your farm or give them away. So there's quite a bit of work picking up buckets of dung, but it's quite cool. I enjoy it.
And so you're just doing that for one of those 8 or 9 breeds?
Just the one breed. Just the one breed.
Okay.
It's just that the breed it's not out there a lot. So I'm trying to get that breed activated, going. So,
okay.
Yeah.
Do you think we need a lot more people doing this kind of dung beetle breeding?
Yeah, and that's where Dung Beetle Innovation is the company you can buy them off. And so most people who buy them, so they are getting out there. They're spreading, but not all farmers can afford it. So that's where there's a few of us go and collect them. Where we go and collect them at night and then take them to another farmer and release them there just to get them going, to help them. So we're just sort of trying to find areas that don't have them, and people who are interested, we'll supply them. And Dung Beetle Innovation's the only company doing this, supplying it.
Yeah, I think we need a few more companies, quite a few more. Because, I mean, the dung beetles are making this nice little vertical tunnel, and you talk about this issue of, rainfall not soaking in. For me, dung beetles is probably the number one thing besides plants, obviously. But, number 1 or 2, competing with plants, who's going to make the most holes into the ground? I think they're superb.
Yeah, because they're getting air down there as well. They're not just taking nutrients; they're getting the air down there. I think there's something ridiculous number like 80% of farmland in New Zealand is compacted in some form. So I don't know how accurate that number is, but I've been told that number. But if that's the case, these things will help get the air down there, get the nutrients down into the soil.
Yeah. And if we can get a whole lot of biochar down in there as well, then the pasture growth will be superb as well.
Yeah, it just changes. Yeah, it changes things. Yeah, that's right. Yeah, because the biochar is so good for the biology. It's a good home for them. So you imagine all these things happening under the soil, not just on the surface.
Do you think these dung beetles that you're breeding, do you think they will survive in Southland, or is it too cold?
We are next season going to be sending a few down there to see what happens. That is an issue of being too cold. So I don't know the breeds that will survive down there. So yeah, there's a few farmers I've lined up to send some down to them to get them going, see what happens.
Yeah, I think I looked at their website before, and I think there's probably only a couple of species that will do okay down here. I think they're going to struggle because of the cold, but they should be able to just go down and hibernate with, some warm manure to keep them going, I'd say. But
yeah. I hope so.
Yeah. Well, thanks for joining me today, and thanks for everything that you're doing. You're doing some really important work, and thanks for sharing that with us today.
Not a problem.
Okay, then.
Okay, thanks. Bye.